Hi, good morning. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I am actually really old. I'm about like the sum of these guys' ages all put together. And I'm really impressed by the insights and wisdom that they've shared this morning, and I wish I had that level of insight and wisdom at your age. And I'm only discovering some of these things for myself now as I'm heading into my 40s. But I want to start firstly by telling you a little bit about my parents. So when my dad was just 15 years old, he fled from Vietnam during the war, and he stowed away on a boat to Hong Kong. He was able to survive on his own by selling counterfeit luxury goods on the black market. Now, I know it's not a very respectable profession, but for him it was a means of survival. And it was also how he met my mother, by trying to peddle her counterfeit luxury wares. Years later, my parents got married, and they had my sisters and I in Hong Kong. But they always felt that they could give us a better and freer life in New Zealand. So they made the brave decision to move to a country where they had no family, didn't speak a word of English. And we came here when I was about 2. My parents then decided to open a restaurant. Now, neither of them had ever worked in the hospitality industry, and actually neither of them knew how to cook. In fact, my mum was a particularly bad cook. But they managed to run a successful business, which enabled them to buy a house and to put the 3 of us through private schooling. They eventually gave up the restaurant, and my mum became a real estate agent. Now, I'm not even sure how she passed the exam, because to this day her English is still pretty basic. But she saw an opportunity with the influx of Asian immigrants into the country at the time, and she actually became one of Barfoot and Thompson's top real estate agents. Later in my teens, my parents opened Auckland's first Chinese medical clinic, offering traditional Chinese medicine, which wasn't as mainstream as it is now. And we used to have all kind of weird stuff hanging and drying in our home, things like deer antlers and deer genitals. And I can tell you that none of us ever got sick. I think what really, often dawns on me when I think about it is that how hard it would have been for them to come here in their late 20s, not speaking the language and living in a completely foreign culture. It really took a lot of hard work and personal sacrifice for them to give us the life and the opportunities that they wanted for us. But most of all, what I think it really took was courage. Courage to leave their families and what they knew behind. Courage to just try things, even though they really didn't know much about it. And I don't ever remember my parents talking about things that wouldn't work. They only ever talked about endless opportunities. When I was 16, my parents then offered to buy me a business, a bakery in fact. They were always encouraging me to work for myself. But I turned down their offer because what did I know about running a business at 16? And I just wanted to do what everyone else was doing, which was to go to uni, get a job in a big company, and climb the corporate ladder. And I thought my success and my worth was determined by titles, positions, and what other people were willing to pay me. So that is exactly what I did. I spent 15 years working for big food companies, marketing household brands such as Watties, Bluebird chips, Cadbury chocolate. And during this time, I also did what was expected, and that was to find a man, get married, have kids, and buy a house. I had a really comfortable life, and I felt incredibly privileged. But there was this kind of constant nagging inside me, and I felt I should be doing something more meaningful. I wasn't particularly proud of what I was marketing. In fact, the foods that I was marketing were things that I wouldn't even give my own children. And the cutthroat, money-focused corporate world was really misaligned with my own values. But I felt kind of trapped in this treadmill, and it was too big a risk for me to do anything else. Then a few years ago, I don't know if you guys would have seen a current affairs piece done by Campbell Live, comparing lunches of kids at a Decile 10 school to the kids at Decile 1 school. And it was shocking to see these kids at the low decile school coming with very little or no food. And I think along with most of New Zealand, I didn't realise that this problem existed and that there were thousands of Kiwi kids going to school every day without lunch. There was so much talk about it, and I think like everyone else, I just thought, well, you know, there's probably nothing I, as one person, could do about it. But it really bugged me. And months later, it still bugged me. And I think, you know, seeing that piece had just stirred the sense of injustice inside me that these kids were going all day without food and then trying to learn and participate in class. And without education, we know that there's no way that they're going to be able to create better opportunities for themselves and to break out of that poverty cycle. So one night I was talking about this issue with a friend, and I happened to be wearing a pair of Tom's shoes. And we were also talking about the success of businesses like My Food Bag. Then I thought, well, what if we took elements from these businesses, like the one-for-one model from Tom's, you know, the online food delivery and subscription model from My Food Bag, and actually package them up in a different way to help Kiwi kids in need. I think often the best ideas are not completely new. All I did was actually just take existing ideas from other people and connected the dots in different ways. So that night, the idea for Eat My Lunch was born. People would be able to subscribe to our service online and have a fresh, healthy lunch delivered to them at work. And for every lunch they buy, we would give one to a Kiwi kid who would otherwise go hungry. We called it Buy One, Give One. It would be set up as a business rather than a charity, because we knew that this had to be self-sustaining and scalable if we were really going to achieve our mission of ensuring that no kids in New Zealand go hungry. I thought it was a good idea, but you know, with kids, a mortgage, potential of failure, you know, with 70% of startups in New Zealand failing within their first 5 years, it just seemed like too much of a risk. We had also gone to the bank and spoken to the bank about maybe getting a loan to start the business. And the bank manager came back to us and said, look, I don't think it's a really good idea. In fact, he used the word stupid. He thought it was a stupid idea and that we would never make money by giving away free lunches. So the odds were against us. But every day for about 3 months after that night, I would come home from my corporate job feeling dissatisfied and undervalued. And I just thought, you know, if I'm going to work my ass off, it should be for something worthwhile and something I could be proud of. And I wanted to do something that my kids would be proud of too. Now, I had absolutely no idea if Eat My Lunch would work or not. There weren't other models or other similar businesses doing what we wanted to do. But the easiest way to find out is actually to just start. So I quit my corporate job, and a few months later, we launched Eat My Lunch from our family home. That was 2 years ago. In that time, we have given 492,237 lunches to kids in 48 low decile schools. That means we've made over 980,000 lunches in total. Eat My Lunch has shown New Zealand that a business that puts a social purpose at its heart can be commercially successful. We hit our 3-year sales forecast in our first 12 weeks, and we broke even after 6 months. We have successfully raised just under $1 million through crowdfunding to support our growth. We now employ 27 staff, and we have expanded our operations from Auckland to Hamilton and Wellington. We have also shown that it doesn't matter whether you're a charity, a not-for-profit, or commercial enterprise. As Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, but why you do it. As a business, since we've started, we've had over 4,000 volunteers come in to help make lunches for the kids. And we currently have a 2-month waiting list for volunteering. And because of what we do, other businesses have been incredibly generous and supportive. So for example, Cafe La Fare, they just started sending us 2 kgs of free coffee every week for our volunteers. And when we opened in Wellington, they gave us space in their roastery to open our kitchen for free. People like Brink's Chicken. One day, the sales manager just walked in off the street into our house and said, "I heard you use about 60 kgs of chicken. How would you like that for free every week?" Lego, for our 2nd birthday this year, gave 10,000 boxes of Lego to give to the kids. And we've had people like Joseph Parker and Liam Malone just come to us and say, "We really want to get involved," and they've become our official brand ambassadors. But our success is really measured by the impact that we make. And today we feed 1,670 kids every school day. That's 8,100 a week, 81,000 every school term. And the difference we make for these kids is why we do it. And I'd like to share with you some cards that the kids wrote to us for our 2nd birthday. This one says, "I'm thankful for the spare lunch you guys give because it's better than having no food to eat and let yourself starve and then walk around asking for food from your friends." Hello, at my last school, I used to stay at home if I had no lunch. Now I come to school every day. My favourite sandwich is tuna. And this one from Mia says, "Thank you for the time to make food for us. It makes me feel special and makes me work hard." One of our core values, and really why we started Eat My Lunch, is that we strongly believe in that actions speak louder than words. We took action and decided to do something about a problem that we were passionate about, rather than wait for the government or other organisations to act. You know, I believe it is all of our responsibility to help those most vulnerable in our community. And Eat My Lunch has enabled other Kiwis to help those in need in a meaningful and impactful way. Another, and probably the most important of our values, is courage. My parents showed me that you need courage to move beyond your fears, to be brave enough to give it a go. You need courage to not just follow the crowd and do what is expected, but you need courage to step outside your comfort zone and do something different. And God, it takes courage to take that first step and just do it. But all it takes is just one person and one decision, and the impact can be so much more than you imagine. Who would have thought that something as small and as simple as a lunch could make such a difference? Thank you.